Good evening and welcome. You're watching Breaking Views with me, Sanket Upadhyay, the only show where we get you all the views so that you get the complete picture. Now, obviously, the big contest has happened. There's inner party democracy, which the Congress is talking about, celebrating that, see, we can carry out an exercise like this, but can other parties do it? But the point is that on one hand, you've got this celebration, and rightfully so, inner party democracy must be celebrated. But beyond that are the challenges. And to talk about this further, we have, and to explain this further, we have used what we are calling the Kharge Express analogy. So can the Kharge Express stay on track? Now what does a train need to stay on track? You need rails, right? So there are two rails. Let's put those rails on the screen right now, and in the context of the Congress party, explain what each rail is. So rail 1, to have sharp political acumen, and on the other hand is rail 2, to have a robust organizational structure. Rail 1, raising political heat on your opponents. On the other hand, rail 2, converting the political message into votes. Rail 1, leading successful campaigns and sharp retorts against your opponents. And rail 2, make sure that there is enthusiasm among the workers. Because when both these rails move together, that is when a train can go super fast. So in that context, we are saying, and this is a problem that has existed with the Congress party, you will have a very sharp political campaign, but you will not have any organizational base in a state. Thus, the result of the Congress. In another state, you will have the organizational system, but no charismatic leadership. Thus, the train will halt or not ply. So, the biggest challenge for Mr. Kharge going forward, can he keep his Kharge Express and the Congress Express on track as he takes on the Modi challenge in 2024? Let me now introduce our first guest this evening, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Rajya Sabha MP and National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. Dr. Singhvi, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Would you agree that this is going to pose as a big challenge while you celebrate inner party democracy as you rightly should? You have to look for the big battle ahead of keeping these two rails together.
All political parties have to be ready for battles ahead. But I want you to just step back for a second, Sanket, and underline the importance of what has happened. I know in an election, and you know, one person wins, one loses. But today, everyone has won. Do not forget, it sounds obvious once it's done. It is taken for granted because people don't want to underline things which are important. But here you have an election with not the slightest untoward event or incident. You have not a very small election. You have a large number across the country. And Shashi Tharoor may have lost, but he has also won because he has contributed to a process which is clean, straightforward. It is a process which no party, regional or local or national, has had. And therefore, I think you kind of tend to move people. I found people tilting at windmills in other programs. They tend to say, oh, then why did he go to visit her first? And why did she come to visit him first? And why was the announcement made before? These are all deliberate attempts to go down minor side lanes. The larger issue is that there was an election, two people fought it, not the worst enemies of the Congress says it is wrong, badly handled, there was no incident, and I think now we look forward. Of course you are right, two rails have to be there, but that is not dependent only on a presidential election. The whole party has to be galvanized, and there is no doubt that this, if I may say so, a very novel experiment in Indian political parties, even in the Congress it has taken a few years, should be something which will galvanize the entire machinery and the party machinery towards that goal which you're talking about.
Let me ask you this question, Dr. Singhvi. Do you think that your party has time? Because there are states, there are district Congress committees, Pradesh Congress committees, blocks that are actually in very bad shape. And this is a reality that is not hidden from anyone. So don't you think that time is running out? I mean, there's just 18 months left for the 2024 elections.
Let me candidly admit that a lot of announcements and appointments were in fact held back a little bit. Some more you would have seen, certainly. I know for a fact, I'm not taking names, important committees, etc., were not announced, at least in the last 2 to 3 months, because of this impending election. Because equally, as you know, your tribe is ready to say, Chit bhi meri, pat bhi meri. If you had announced that, you would have said, oh, this is a fait accompli being given to the next president. So I think the attempt was to leave open a zone of discretion for the next president. I think you'll find fast and furious a series of announcements, compositions, committees, panels. Number two, it is not about that. It is about going down to each unit, because now you'll have a system which was held back for a short while. And I have no doubt that they will all, you will have at least, I can't say about the taluka level or the block level immediately, but certainly up to the PCC and little below that, you're going to have every office filled up in the near future. And let me tell you one more thing. The ultimate objective is not to stop here. It's a mistake to think this is a major start. It's a major completion at the apex level, but you will eventually translate this into lower level elections, be it the CWC, be it elsewhere, but that must take time, and that will not hold up the process of fighting against the ruling party for the national elections coming up a couple of years down the line.
Now, one question that will be asked of you by everyone is the association that the Gandhis are going to have with the new Congress president. Is the post of the Congress president supreme, or is the Gandhi family supreme as far as the Congress party is concerned? Will the Gandhis work with the new Congress president, or will the new Congress president work for the Gandhis?
As I said in the last interaction when the elections were announced, this is somewhat like the Panchtantra tale. You cannot ever get it right as far as the media is concerned. There will always be critics. And if you thought that we are deterred by critics, you wouldn't take these very, very important initiatives. Let me make it clear that, it is, in a sense, a weird question. Should the Gandhis be characterized and castigated as irrelevant for me to prove to you that the election is free and fair? Is that the kind of sequitur you're hearing in the press? That you should ostracize them, ignore them as if they don't exist? This is a very ridiculous approach. The Gandhis are part and parcel, an intrinsic part of the Congress persona, personality, identity. They are people who have guided us for so long, and certainly they will be there as a friend, philosopher, guide. They will be there for active work, depending on which way the president uses them, asks them, requests them, interacts with them. But obviously, it is but obvious that you forget for a moment the Gandhis. Suppose there were 5 past presidents, or let me for that matter say Dr. Manmohan Singh, a former prime minister. And suppose there were earlier prime ministers of the Congress around. Would you not consult them? Of course you would consult them. It would be foolish of you not to consult them.
No, Dr. Singhvi, one is a consultation process. The other is, having a system so robust that the Congress president's word is supreme and not the word of the Gandhis. That the organization will be built in such a way that if the Congress president has decided something, then no other leader will look towards 10 Janpath for hope.
See, I cannot deal with speculations, which is obviously a nice spicy way of the media approaching it. But let me tell you, there is but no question that under the Constitution, the Congress president's decision is supreme. In that process of reaching that, he will have diverse consultations. Unlike the ruling party and several other local parties, regional parties, the Congress is sometimes far too democratic. And you will have that discussion, dissonance, dissent. But ultimately in that process, the Congress president's view will emerge final. That is the Constitution, that is the way it has functioned, and I have no doubt Mr. Kharge has only taken over today. Give him some time, and I have no doubt that's the way it will happen. But what is being talked about in your press is not that. It is being suggested innuendo-wise by the opposition, otherwise, as if the only way to prove this election is free and fair is that you completely ignore that the Gandhis are there. That's a ridiculous way of looking at things.
True. Dr. Singhvi, many thanks. Now, he's got a big mountain of a task ahead of him, and I'm sure he'll get cracking. Thank you very much.
Challenges get opportunities, and opportunities must have challenges. I think it's a great time to start looking forward, and I have no doubt that everybody will fulfill the work and the goals set for them.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singhvi, for joining us. Gurdeep Singh Sapal, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Ranbir Singh Pathania, spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha is a political analyst, and Zainab Sikandar, columnist and writer. Thank you very much. Mr. Sapal, I'm going to just come to you in just a short moment. I want to begin by asking Sanjay Jha what he thinks about this rail analogy. You see, it is extremely, and just to take our rail analogy forward, you also had a Shashi Tharoor contest in these elections, and he scored, I would say, the number of votes that he got may be throwing up some sort of an alternate reality within the Congress party. 1072 votes means something.
Sanket, I believe that the votes basically tell you that Mr. Kharge was indeed the favored candidate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an overwhelmingly one-sided vote. And especially given that the person on the other side was Dr. Shashi Tharoor, not an ordinary politician. I think one of the best parliamentarians that the country has ever seen. I think it does give you a clear message that the Congress High Command did have a favorite that they wanted to win. And that, I think, is the downside that the Congress party will have to address, because the perception in the public's mind, and I know the AICC delegates and my good friend Mr. Upal will justify it, but the public perception is, and this cannot be refuted, that Mr. Kharge was a fait accompli. He was always the unofficial official candidate, number one. But answering your question, I think you hit the nail on the head, Sanket. One, the party has to think, is it ready under Mr. Kharge's leadership, or will it get motivated enough to take on the BJP in 2024, and the several crucial state elections coming up with Gujarat in a couple of months that the Congress party must battle and must win. Can Mr. Kharge deliver? A big question mark. As far as even the cadres are concerned, I was so disappointed today, and I have a lot of respect for Mr. Kharge, and I'm wishing him all the best through your show, that he had to read a script, in terms of his victory speech. I mean, to my mind, that was very disconcerting. The Congress needs to be having a leader, and I hope Mr. Kharge succeeds. Someone who's out there, who's comfortable in his own skin, who doesn't have to worry about, pleasing several constituencies. And the perception in the public's mind that Mr. Kharge, despite, 80 years of political experience, 60 years of political experience, is a rubber stamp or a puppet of the Gandhi family, will not do good to the Gandhi family, will not help the Congress, and will definitely not help Indian democracy, because the BJP must be stopped. The Congress is a singular hope, and I think the Congress, through this verdict, is perhaps telling us all that it is still not ready for a radical change that the party desperately needs.
So, no, but then why this assumption, Sanjay Jha, that only if Dr. Shashi Tharoor would have been elevated to the position of Congress president, would the party have been ready for this radical change to take on the BJP?
Well, no, let me tell you this, that Mr. Kharge's candidature itself, the way it happened on the eve of the elections, tells you that he was not a voluntary participant in this entire electoral process, that he has been definitely propped up. I mean, why would you have this ridiculous, soap opera being played out, where Mr. Digvijay Singh is a candidate one day and a proposer the next? And then you have the entire G23. I mean, people who have been my friends, and I have a lot of, again, individual and collective respect for them, who signed up to propose Mr. Kharge's candidature. I think we are not all born yesterday here. We know what really happened. Good luck to Mr. Kharge. I believe Mr. Kharge can still pull it off, but to be honest, I'm very skeptical.
Gurdeep Singh Sapal, first of all, Sanjay Jha's response, where he feels that this is, the Congress party's very clever strategy to suggest that this was a contest. However, it was a no contest right from the very beginning, and Mr. Kharge was the preferred candidate. But having said that, while you reply to this question, I am again going to come back to the big challenge ahead. Now that he is there at the helm, he's got to take care of these two rails. The BJP is at 303, the Congress is at 53. If you don't, in Rajya Sabha, BJP at 92, Rajya Sabha Congress at 31. If you don't put these two rails, the train will not be able to run on track. So you may mount a great campaign, you may have a great Bharat Jodo Yatra, but if the organization is not strong, you won't be able to achieve much. which has been the perpetual problem with the Congress of late? Mr. Sappal.
Sanket, I'll come to Mr. Jha later.
Okay.
First, these two that you have mentioned.
Yeah.
One is this sharp political acumen you say is required. Other is robust organizational structure is required.
Yeah.
I look at it differently. There's no shortage of political acumen. There never was. What the country is facing today is that there's an absence of level playing field in the elections. The agencies are misused. The media doesn't carry the voice of opposition. The money is being controlled by the government. The institutions are compromised. And that is why there's a lack of level playing field. To counter this or to overcome this, Congress decided to go directly to the people. Bharat Jodo Yatra and several other yatras which are happening and which will happen in future are our method to reach out directly to people of India, explain to them what we stand for and have a connect with them. And you must have seen, you must have witnessed, NDTV has covered to some extent that the yatra is generating lot of energy, lot of positivity among the masses.
It is,
and
Mr.
Congress
Sappal.
people.
You're right.
No, I'll come to that.
But
Second
Mr. Sappal, the second
thing.
rail,
I'm coming
you've
to
got to
second
have
thing.
a
Yes,
strong
precisely.
organization structure. I may mount a
Precisely.
campaign as powerful as Bharat Jodo, but if
Yes.
I don't have the organizational structure to convert it into votes, there will be a problem. The train will derail.
Sanket, I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's my point. The energy is being unleashed. The job of the new president is to convert that energy, to harness that energy into organizational structure.
Does he have time?
That is the job, and that is the job of the new president. That is precisely, we are saying that there is no magic wand. Congress is moving in small steps. It is going directly to people. It is working on its own internal problems, rectifying them.
Mr.
It's
Sappal, that's why
building
I
up
asked,
a more
do you
democratic
have that
process.
sort of luxury
And-
of time? You've got a
No,
big
there's no
contest.
question of-
Even if we say he has just taken this position up right now, so I'm not going to ask a question about Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat. Let's keep that aside for a moment. 2023, you've got so many important state elections. Your only two states where you are in power, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, are going to go to polls. Then the 2024 big challenge. Does Mr. Kharge have time to fix?
Sanket, in mathematics,
A monumental
there's something called momentum and exponential growth.
Huh.
When you start with positive steps and sure-footedness,
Yeah.
then small steps add up and there's an exponential growth in the campaigns. We are not looking at 2024 as one single destination. We are looking it as a process where we have to put our own house in order, and we have started doing it. Mr. Kharge is a very wise and experienced person. We required a Congress president who knows the cadre inside out. The cadres, they know him, who knows how organization works, who has been through the organization from the lowest level to the topmost position. And this is what is required to put the organization back into order.
Okay,
This is
okay.
the
Before
challenge. And
Mr.
this
Sanjay Jha responds.
and I'll also say,
Yeah.
I'll also react to what Mr. Jha said about him, that he wrote from a written script. I will not speak about Modi ji who read from a written script, but I am sure Mr. Jha must have listened to his speeches in Parliament, which have been extempore speeches, even up to hour and a half long speeches. People have been spellbound. So I don't think today you should criticize a person who has made it from being a son of a poor mill laborer.
I think the point that he was making, not taking away from Mr. Kharge's credentials, but the manner in which
that should be castigated
this
like this
contest
on
happened
the day one.
and the
He has been
candidature
a
came into
orator
being.
in Parliament.
Zainab Sikandar.
Yeah,
Zainab
he has been
Sikandar, what do you
orator in
make of this
Parliament.
contest?
You cannot
And for the
castigate him.
purposes of this discussion, I again want to refer to the rail analogy of keeping those two tracks together. Do you feel that is the big challenge? We can keep mounting whatever political pressure, great campaigns, yatras, but if you don't have the organizational strength, nothing will work.
I absolutely agree. Congress is in trouble because their organizational structure is pretty much in shambles. And I just want to give a small example. If we are comparing Kharge ji against Prime Minister Modi, 5 years ago, they were face to face in the Lok Sabha, And Kharge ji, told Modi ji that, you are from a poor family and it is because of the Congress that safeguarded democracy that today you are the Prime Minister of the country. And it is the Gandhis who laid their life down for the country and, it is them, whereas from your end, there was nobody who contributed anything for the freedom struggle or for the country. And, Prime Minister Modi had a simple reply. He said, we may be indebted to you for saving the democracy. I don't agree. I think it is the Jan Shakti that has kept the democracy alive and not the Congress. And this is really the pivotal point which sets apart Mr. Kharge and Mr. Modi if we have to compare them face to face. Modi realizes the pulse of the nation. He rides on populism. Unfortunately, Mr. Kharge, and I resonate with what Mr. Jha was saying, Mr. Kharge is still drawing his power within the Congress from the Gandhis. And that is the biggest problem. We don't have like Mr. Singhvi was saying, we don't have a problem if the Gandhis are still relevant in the Congress. But the problem is Mr. Kharge finds relevance due to the Gandhis. And that is the biggest problem. The organizational structural changes that will happen in the Congress will only happen if there is a fresh take on it. And as far as what I know and what I have read from what Mr. Kharge has been saying for the last 3-4 days, he's still saying that we will ponder upon what happened at the Chintan Shivir in Udaipur. And that Chintan Shivir was entirely headed by the Gandhis. Mrs. Gandhi was heading that. So if they are still going to go on the same path, the rail track is pretty much the old dilapidated one, then Congress will not see any difference. I also personally don't see any big changes coming within the Congress under the leadership of
Sure.
Mr.
So you're
Kharge.
saying that the party has chosen the very potholed path of
Yes.
status quoism.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ranbir Singh Pathania, how do you look at this? I mean, many
It's
BJP
purely-
spokespersons in the past have said that Rahul Gandhi is your favorite brand ambassador, campaign manager. Now what will you do?
You see, Sanket, this is purely an internal matter of the Congress. PM Modi has wished a fruitful future to Mallikarjun Kharge ji. But there are some questions which the people of India want to ask. We have seen the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and being controlled by a remote control from Tanjat. We have seen the future of Mr. Sitaram Kesri. Nobody knew where from he came and where did he go. We have seen Prime Minister Mr. Narasimha Rao. He fulfilled a full 5-year term for the Congress. He led the country for 5 years and Congress not even remembered him once in a Congress office. So my point remains that Congress needs to reinvent itself. Congress vote share has fallen at an all-time low at less than 20%. So simply by putting a new label on the same, we could say, directionless, purposeless and visionless, agendaless Congress, just by Bharat Jodo, nothing could happen. Anyhow, we wish him fruitful future. Let him compete. Let him be able to pull the Congress out of the morass. We have seen the Goa genie has fizzled out. The Rajasthan ghost might have settled down, but there are certain issues which Congress needs to virtually take on with a very, we could say, professional way of the things. Very simple and very sweet. My good wishes to Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge. We wish him. PM Modi has also wished him. Let him reinvent the Congress.
This magnanimity of the BJP, no. The Prime Minister is also wishing him good luck and such mature politics in this country. It's so much fun to see this.
And you see, sir, Congress is on the way of being pigeonholed into to be labeled as an extinct species. So let's Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge come out with a, we could say, new genie,
Sanjay Jha's quick reply.
New ideology.
Sanjay Jha raised his hand. Yes, quick reply.
Yeah, Sanket, I believe
Amazing
Mr.
man.
Sapal actually said it himself. He said, we are making these small changes, and that's exactly the fault line within the Congress. And I think what Zainab mentioned is so true, that you need to be spectacular. I mean, change for a party that has been static, lackadaisical, extremely, atrophied. How do you change? I mean, you're taking on the BJP, for God's sake. They have trounced the Congress in 2 general elections. And today, the Congress is a shadow of its past great self. And, this tinkering, we have done an election. For God's sake, this is not the time for self-congratulation. The question that the Congress party needs to ask, are you ready under Mr. Kharge? Is he the man who's going to let the Congress come close to the BJP in 2024?
Yeah, well,
If not,
Mr.
when
Jha,
is that possible? I don't know.
Poor guy has not even taken over.
No, please let me
the
come in.
assuming of office will happen a little later, but
Sanket, let me
he
come in.
definitely has a daunting
But
task
Sanket,
ahead
the
of him.
Congress
Please
does not
let
have
me
the
come in.
luxury of time.
And
Congress does
he's,
not have the luxury of time.
he's
Please
no
let me come in.
greenhorn, is what many Congress leaders have also told me, that to consider that he will fail at the job, won't be able to deliver status quo. Let's
Sanket,
give him time.
let me come in.
We'll all be right here to see what he has done, what he hasn't, and we'll do a Kharge
Please
SWOT
let me come
analysis
in.
and see how successful the Kharge Express has been
Please,
and has it been on time
This
or
is
not.
Congress,
I've run out of
Congress
time.
party.
Thank you
You
very
have
much,
to
ladies and
answer.
gentlemen, for joining us. We come to the end of Breaking News. News and updates continue on the other side.